You can hear me okay? Oop, I guess the microphone's working in here. Is that up by choice? Okay. So you guys can hear me there, and then as long as the people online can hear me. How you guys doing? All right. Welcome. I think I recognize everyone. Any new people? I don't think so. I recognize every face in here. So anything anyone want to share or anything before we get started? I have a couple things I'll talk about. So I just got back. I'm always on a high because I just got back from the plant-based conference. And I go to an annual conference every year for continuing education. So I get it paid for by my employer because it's continuing education. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Do you want to? Is it distracting? Yeah, go ahead and turn that off. There we go. No, we got it now. Yeah, 'cause we were trying it out because as long as you can hear my voice, because the microphone is for the people online that are attending online. So yeah, I just got back yesterday. Was in San Diego for 4 days down there, and so it was called the Power of the Plate Conference. So it's like go to the one of those every year, and it's great because there was like about 400 of us there, which is a smaller one actually. When I was at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine conference last November in Dallas, there was 5,000 people there, and it's mostly physicians that are there. And so it's kind of one of those when you like Charlie can attest to this when we go to work and you're seeing patients and you have your colleagues and none of them get it and you're trying they think you're this outlier person and like kind of out in left field and oh this plant-based vegan doctor or whatever and so when you go to these conferences you're amongst all the people and the analogy I always like to use it's kind of nerdy but if have you guys seen the Matrix movie with Keanu Reeves, the Matrix? So those that have seen the Matrix, it's kind of like that. So the people that are at the conference are the people that were unplugged from the Matrix, because it's like the Matrix is basically we're all the premise of the movie. For those of you who haven't seen it, is like you're plugged. You're not really like what we're experiencing right now is not real. It's like the computer's feeding you a program, so you're plugged into a the Matrix, which is you're basically in a pod, and they're using your human body as a battery. That's essentially what the movie is. And you're because your our experiences in life are just neuro signals to our brain, right? And so you're basically just really in this pod and being used as energy, and your whole life has just been a facade, basically. It's a computer feeding you what your experiences are. And so it's kind of like that's the way I see it when it comes to nutrition and lifestyle. It's like being in the matrix. You don't know any better, right? You don't know that you're in the matrix. And so that, but till you get unplugged and you actually see, like in the movie, you take a red pill or a blue pill to actually be woken up, essentially. And so it's kind of like that. And then in the movie, there's a place where it's called Zion, where it's where all the unplugged people are, and people that were real humans that weren't ever plugged into the matrix. And so going to these conferences is like going to Zion, where you're amongst all these people that get it. They have all been unplugged, and so it's kind of nerdy like that when you go to these conferences. So, but the highlight is the 9 meals that we got. So it's Power of the Plate conference, and I can't believe how much it costs. Like the whole conference, the pretty much the whole cost of the conference is for the food. Because I actually got to have a discussion with the organizer of the conference, and it was like he said it was $220 per person per day just for the food, because it was in Coronado in San Diego, and it was so huge buffets of so every morning for breakfast was as much oatmeal and fruit, and then there was like the first morning there was blueberry pancakes. The second morning was like a tofu scramble. Of course, always the tons of fruit and the oatmeal. And then the third morning it was like a it was potatoes and tempeh, kind of a roasted potato and tempeh, and that was just breakfast. And then there was always like snacks and everything, and then lunches and dinners, just all kinds of grains and beans and like for salad, you could just like it was like you could get your 30 plant foods if we're supposed to get 30 plant foods in a week, right? You could get that in one meal because it's just like every vegetable you can think of is there. And then that was just like part of your plate. And then the rest of the plate was like different curries and tofu and grains and beans and stews and stir fries and all kinds of great stuff. So it's like, to go to something like that where you can eat everything there. and so you eat a lot. and then this and all the new science and really good lectures and all that stuff. So just wanted to share that. So I'm kind of on a high from that. So any do you have any announcements before we introduce Kathy?
So I over Saturday and Sunday, I was at the fairgrounds and they had a health fair, and they're going to have that again next year. And at this health fair, they had a number of booths, and we had people that came by, and quite a number of them. It was not real busy for whatever reason, but we had some good conversations and encouraged people to come. They saw some of the books and talked to them about the classes and begged them to come, sort of, you know. Uh, and just the ending. How many of you made it to Dr. Clapper's talk? You were fortunate. Congratulations. And those of you who didn't, it was really a wonderful experience. And I don't know, are we going to be able to put that on the uh, website eventually? Because Dr. Clapper said that we could do that. So once we figure out how to get it downloaded in the right format, we'll do that. And just a little feedback, we did talk with a group of physicians at Lane County Medical Society, and today I talked with two of them. One called me at home and asked, are you approaching the assisted living and nursing homes? The food is terrible there. And what can you do to change that? And I said, sit down with them, see if they'll talk with us. And I said, I've tried in the past, it hasn't worked very well, but give it your best shot. We haven't given up. Keep trying. And then the other person I met on the tennis court today, he came to it and he says, Charlie, I changed my diet. I had northern beans tonight for dinner. So it does have an impact, these classes. Just wanted to share that with you. And next, we're going to have Kathy Meldrum, who most of you may have known if you've been to other classes. She's a physical therapist. We're really lucky to have her. Thank you for coming and doing this. I'll let you carry on.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hi. Is there anybody here who hasn't heard me talk here before? All right. So a few new people. Awesome. Well, good to meet you all. So, yeah, I'm a physical therapist. I work over at Cascade Health. I do outpatient orthopedic physical therapy. So, a lot of people are coming in with pain complaints, whether it's their shoulder or their neck or their back or their knee or their ankle. I help them with that. And as a physical therapist, we look for muscle imbalances around joints, try to correct for that. But I also, for me, I look at everybody holistically who comes in my practice and I talk to everybody about their diet. Some people are more receptive than others. I wish everybody was more, but it always warms my heart when somebody tells me something like, I have a smoothie every day now because of you. Or instead of having like a soda every day, I do it once a week or something. So those are all feel like wins to me because I know how important it is what you're eating is to how you feel because I've had my own health issues years ago now. And the whole nutrition world, I just stumbled upon it and I was really surprised at what I was finding. And I was like, is this really true? Like, can foods really have this much of an impact on your body? And I found out, yes, it really can. Like everything that I was feeling at that time, I don't have that as a problem now. I feel like great. I can do a lot of physical things. And so nutrition has a huge impact on that. And I have a video that I want to show everybody tonight talking about how nutrition can affect inflammation in your body. And I feel like what I'm treating most of all in my clinic is inflammatory responses, bursitis, tendinitis, they're all itises, arthritis. And so getting the inflammation down in the body is helpful, right? Because normal inflammation, if you have an injury, there's normal inflammatory response to that, which is healthy, and we want that. But if on top of it, you have an overall systemic inflammatory response going that's chronic, and now you have this injury, you've got too much inflammation in there, you've got pain. And so it's hard to work that out unless you can really make a dietary change that's significant enough. And I also like to point out hydration is really important, whether you get that through water or coconut water or your smoothies or whatever you're drinking, but it's the coffees and the Red Bulls and the sodas and the alcohol, which is all very dehydrating. So I always like to point that out too. Those are liquids. It seems like we're drinking something that's saturating our thirst, but they're still quite dehydrating. So you want to make sure you're on the water. or fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean, open up an orange. It's so watery, right? So juicy. And so all those kinds of foods are really hydrating for your body. And it's in the natural state that your body can take that in and use it. So anyway, that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I've seen it in real time for myself. And the people in my clinic who respond mostly and make the changes get the better results, as opposed to the other people who don't want to. And I mean, it's not really just that, but if you're looking at the pain response, there's more to it than we even know. But thinking about your stress levels, I talk to people about that too. How stressed are you? Or when your pain came on, how stressed were you right before that happened? Were you rushed? Were you hurried? Were you upset about something? You know, we all tend to tense up during those episodes, right? And that can bring on the pain response also. Is it his new book? Oh, thanks for telling me. I didn't know that. Awesome. Yes. I mean, that's so good. We need to get the message out. Like food is affecting how we feel. Our moods, I mean, physically, our moods are affecting how we feel physically. So it's really all interconnected. And of course, you know, our joints, how much movement are we getting, right? Are we walking? Are we moving our joints? Because if we're just sitting still, that's not good for our joints. They're meant to be moved through space. That's what keeps them, you know, hydrated and lubricated. And also putting pressure through your joints. So walking or running or hopping or whatever you're able to do, putting pressure through the joints um, is also very good for them. Depending on how much pressure you can have is different depending on every person. Some people are weightlifting, some people are walking, and it just depends on what you can do for your own body. But yeah, so with that, if anybody has a question just right off right now, I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, we'll go into a video. And then after the video, we'll go into small groups and I have some worksheets for us. Okay. All right. I think we'll just go into the video.
We can do things about arthritis to reverse it. But the problem is we are being constantly exposed to these various inflammatory threats. One of the biggest ones is our diet. With poor diet, you can end up getting this chronic level of inflammation, which is leading to arthritis.
Dr. Tomiko Katsumoto is a professor of rheumatology and immunology at Stanford University. She's an award-winning researcher who studies the intersection of diet, inflammation, and the immune system.
Sugar, saturated fat, processed foods drives inflammation, not just in our joints. It's our whole body on fire. With inflammation, there can actually be a breach of those protective barriers in our joints. And arthritis can be profoundly disabling. If it's affecting your hands, you're not able to open jars or grasp things or using your joints the way you normally would like to. But our Dutch colleagues, they ended up randomizing a group of patients. They put them through whole food plant-based diets, minimizing processed foods. At the end of the study, by simply improving our diet, a lot of these patients were able to get off of their medications.
So tell me what's on the plate.
So half of the plate is...
Welcome to Zoe, Science and Nutrition, where world-leading scientists explain how their research can improve your health. Tomiko, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And right at the start, I think you know, because you told me you're a regular listener yourself, we have a tradition here at Zoe where we always start with a quick fire round of questions. Are you willing to give it a go?
Absolutely.
All right. So remember, yes or no, or if you absolutely have to, a one-sentence answer. Are more people developing arthritis?
Yes.
Does the food we eat play an important role in arthritis?
Yes.
If you're starting to feel symptoms, is full-blown arthritis inevitable?
Not necessarily.
Could you reverse arthritis with the right foods?
Yes.
And finally, and you have a whole sentence, Tomiko, what's the biggest myth when it comes to treating arthritis?
I think the biggest myth is that there's nothing you can do to change your arthritis course. I think there are actually a lot of things that we are all capable of doing through diet, lifestyle, et cetera, that can make a difference.
You know, when I was growing up, everyone talked about tobacco as the leading cause of chronic disease. And today we're sitting here and we're basically talking about poor nutrition as the biggest cause of this. And, you know, it's been 8 years since I co-founded Zoe. And I think every year I've just got more and more shocked at the way in which, you know, the food that we're eating, you know, across the Western world is making us so sick, but also just discovering each year about ways in which it affects us that I had no idea about. So today we're talking to you as a professor of immunology and rheumatology at Stanford about arthritis and how it's linked to food. And I never would have guessed when I founded Zoe that it could have anything to do with food. In fact, I would have said that was, you know, like crazy, totally non-scientific. So it's amazing how much I think my understanding has changed. What is arthritis and how does that relate to this concept of inflammation, which I know is a lot about what you study?
You and me both. I think we in medical school were not taught about the role that diet and all these other lifestyle factors play in a lot of our inflammatory diseases. I'm a rheumatologist, so I take care of patients with arthritis, with a lot of other inflammation of other organs. So rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, vasculitis, you know, psoriatic arthritis, you name it. I think arthritis is complex. Basically, our joints are generally protected areas where you've got your bone, you've got a synovial lining, you know, you've got this nice joint capsule that is lubricated so that it allows us to move freely. The problem is with inflammation, there can actually be a breach of those protective barriers such that you can end up getting inflammation. There's actually a connection with the gut and mucosal barriers that play into the inflammation leading to arthritis.
And Tomiko, I know nothing about how my joints work. And I could see you're sort of painting a picture of, I'm sort of imagining somehow something, I don't know, a bit quite mechanical with some oil running. Is that the right analogy? Is that what you described? Could you just help me to understand a bit?
So, yeah, I think that, you know, it's actually, I'm thinking about this. There's a lot of analogies. We talk a lot, I know Zoe talks a lot about the gut and how there's this important lining of the gut. Similarly, I think you can think about the joint in that there's an important lining called the synovial lining of the joint that can get breached when you end up having, let's say, T cells that are recognizing some of the synovial proteins, so the joint proteins. There can actually be what's called an autoimmune attack, where your own T cells can end up invading the joint, causing inflammation. It causes a leaky joint, if you will. We've heard about leaky gut. And I think what we've started to learn over the course of many years of research is that these mucosal breaches, for example, in our gut, even in our mouth or oral microbiome, can stimulate certain bacteria that may actually cause our immune system to wake up. T cells that are attacking these specific bugs in our gut, in our mouth, can end up actually getting confused and attacking our joints. So this is a whole hypothesis that's coming to fruition with some very exciting science recently in terms of, you know, how our immune system can be connected to joint inflammation.
So Tomiko, if I understand rightly, what you're saying is like, I'm not experiencing any arthritis today, so I can sort of move all my joints around and they're able to sort of slide around somehow really smoothly. I'm thinking a bit like a sort of Teflon pan or something like that. But you're saying that what can happen is my own immune system ends up attacking like parts of these joints and breaking that Teflon, and then suddenly it's both painful and does not move as smoothly?
Exactly.
I don't know if I'm stretching this analogy way too far.
Yes. No, it's a great one. I think that it's either immune attack that can lead to the disruption of this nice synovial barrier that can lead to arthritis. My patients end up getting very swollen, tender, red, hot, painful, stiff joints. Other ways that this can happen are through damage responses. So one thing that a lot of people may have heard about is a condition called gout. And that would be a crystal. There's a crystal called uric acid, which is a byproduct of a lot of cellular metabolism. And those uric acid crystals can end up building up in our joints. And that can end up triggering this inflammatory response as well. So I think that there are different paths leading to arthritis, what we call sort of the acute inflammatory innate response. And then there's a more complex autoimmune mechanism that we were talking about when you have T cells that are attacking the joints. So there's various ways in which arthritis can develop, and we can talk a little bit more about kind of what are the things that set you up for that.
So Tomiko, how many people are affected by this?
So it's estimated that about 1 to 2% of our population is affected by rheumatoid arthritis. The numbers for osteoarthritis are much higher, in the millions. Psoriatic arthritis, a little less common. But again, I think the important point to note is a lot of these autoimmune inflammatory diseases are on the rise. Lupus, for example, is an autoimmune condition that can affect multiple organs, certainly the joints, often the kidneys. And one of the lab tests that we use is called an ANA, which is an anti-nuclear antibody. If you look over time, actually those numbers are going up. So now, in terms of females, actually up to 20% or more of females will have a positive ANA. So there's this increasing incidence of autoimmunity that we're seeing in general. And I think one of the key questions is, why is that happening? What's driving this? I think a key point to make there is that we are not evolving that quickly. Our genetics are not changing. I think what this speaks to is the importance of epigenetics, meaning environmental influences that are changing how these diseases are manifesting. So clearly, I think there's a lot of environmental drivers that are leading to this increased prevalence of arthritis and other chronic inflammatory diseases.
It amazes me that so many of you watch and subscribe to this show. We now get more than 2 million views a month on YouTube, which is a number I find very hard to comprehend. 2 years ago, when we started this podcast, I guess it would be a few thousand of you tuning in at most, and that the show would serve mainly to keep our Zoe coaches informed about the latest science so they could help our members. I felt pretty great when so many chose to tune in from the start, and that so many continue to tune in each week. So we'll continue making Zoe Science and Nutrition and do everything we can to keep making it better. And if you appreciate this, there's a simple free favor that you can do for us in return. Hit the subscribe button below. That's it. Thank you, and on with the show. I'd love to get into that. Just before we do that, I was just thinking about my grandmother. So my grandmother had really quite severe arthritis, and she refused to ever complain about it. So it was quite obvious that she was in pain, but she was of that generation that you should never make a fuss. And actually interesting, her mother had very severe arthritis as well. So I assume that there is a genetic component in this.
So yes, in rheumatoid arthritis, there's something, I'm going to use a fun term here, called shared epitope. There's a specific gene that has been linked clearly to rheumatoid arthritis. There are other types of arthritis, like there's one called ankylosing spondylitis, where it tends to affect the back and also the sacroiliac joints and some of the larger joints. This is one of the arthritis types that's more common in males. There's a genetic predisposition there, which is called HLA-B27. Maybe some of you have heard about this. But to be honest, when we think about the genetics, I think that relatively speaking, that plays a less contributory role compared to a lot of the environmental factors that are driving arthritis.
Got it. And so what is the experience of someone who's living with arthritis? And I know you've mentioned both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Are they experienced the same, or what the difference is? Maybe just help to paint a bit of a picture for people who aren't familiar with this.
Yeah, so osteoarthritis is unfortunately one of the most common types of arthritis. And, we used to call it kind of a wear and tear degenerative arthritis, less inflammatory. These are the types of arthritis that can occur in joints that have previously had, for example, an injury. A lot of, athletes that have, messed up their knees or their hips, whatever, that can happen. However, I think we're learning osteoarthritis actually might have a more inflammatory component than we previously realized. It's more common in people that are overweight. It's possibly related in some ways to the fact that they're bearing more weight on those joints. So there may be a mechanical component, but there are other components for osteoarthritis we don't fully understand. For example, the hands can be affected in osteoarthritis. And so clearly we're not bearing weight in our hands. So osteoarthritis is sort of one of the classic, most common types, which is it's not considered to be truly inflammatory. Rheumatoid arthritis is the most common inflammatory arthritis. And again, I think that we are starting to understand that there are genetic contributions, but more and more as we move forward, we're learning the environmental components are substantial.
What do you experience as a patient living with osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis?
Osteoarthritis, I'll call it OA, osteoarthritis, tends to be less inflammatory. People tend to get more and more pain with motion, with using their joints. In contrast, rheumatoid arthritis is considered inflammatory, meaning that people tend to wake up feeling incredibly stiff, takes a while for them to get up and going. They often feel like they need to get their joints moving. A hot shower might really help get them moving. They experience what's called gelling, where you sit down for a prolonged period of time and your joints kind of gel. And then as you start to move them, that starts to get them feeling better. But rheumatoid arthritis can be profoundly disabling. The amount of pain, the amount of dysfunction, a lot of patients aren't. For example, if it's affecting your hands, you're not able to open jars or grasp things or, using your joints the way you normally would like to. It can be very painful in terms of if it affects your foot joints. It feels like you're walking on marbles or glass in some cases. Back in the day, this used to be a very debilitating condition. And, people would often end up disabled in wheelchairs or really unable to perform their jobs or activities of daily living. I think we've made some significant progress in terms of the treatments that are now available. So I have to say, there's been the advent of disease-modifying agents. We use methotrexate, we use hydroxychloroquine. We also use a lot of these biologic agents that are specifically targeting some of these inflammatory cytokines, which is a fancy word for inflammatory proteins, TNF, tumor necrosis factor, interleukin-6. These are some of the inflammatory drivers that lead to the inflammation within the joints.
So you slightly scared me with all the terminology, Tomiko, but what I'm understanding is that, firstly, it's tough to live with this, like it has a big impact on your quality of life.
Absolutely.
Secondly, the good news is you're saying that medication has moved on a lot from, think about my grandmother and never mind my great-grandmother. So there is a lot that can be done, but it doesn't just make the whole thing disappear.
So I think people can really have improved quality of life on these medications, but there's a trade-off. And the trade-off is when we suppress your immune system, you are then more vulnerable to infections. In some cases, we worry about cancers. In some cases, we worry about what is the long-term impact, right, of very directly targeting some of these key inflammatory mediators. So that's the concern.
You've talked about inflammation a lot and talked about how not only in rheumatoid arthritis, but you're saying also in osteoarthritis, where people have said before there's no inflammation, you're saying like the latest evidence suggests there is. Could you help us to understand in very simple terms, like what is inflammation and what's going on that it's clearly, causing this, this very significant sort of attack on my own body?
These are always difficult concepts, very kind of abstract. I think maybe the best way to distill this would be inflammation can be thought of as a damage repair mechanism. So, for example, right, when we cut ourselves, we need inflammation. We need the, white cells to come in and help heal and, heal that wound. When we have an infection, we need inflammation to come in and actually help fight against these invaders, viral, bacterial, fungal. But I think the key problem is that, unfortunately, the way our lives have evolved is we are being constantly exposed to these various inflammatory threats. Now, one of the biggest ones is our diet. And it's driving inflammation that's aberrant, that shouldn't be happening all the time. And so you can imagine that we end up driving this chronic level of inflammation, these inflammatory cytokines I just talked about, TNF, IL-6, the ones that we target for arthritis, those are going up and up in response to a lot of the foods that we're eating, a lot of the other environmental insults that we're experiencing. And believe it or not, when we talk about arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis, this is a systemic inflammatory response. It's not just in our joints. It's our whole body on fire. And so really it's leading to accelerated cardiovascular disease. It's leading to, a lot of these other metabolic consequences. I think we see in our patients, a lot of them don't just have arthritis. A lot of them also have diabetes and hypertension and cardiovascular disease and accelerated, a lot of them have memory disorders. So I think thinking about it, I don't like to be reductionist and think of arthritis as just one entity. There's so many comorbidities that come with it. And the common theme underlying it all is inflammation.
I'm really struck by this image that you just said about like our whole body is on fire. And so is that a way, when you're describing someone living with this like permanently raised level of inflammation that's on all the time, that's a very strong metaphor. Like that's a real way to understand what's going on?
Yes, I think that, when we measure, for example, one of the biomarkers we use is, ESR, which is erythrocyte sedimentation rate, and C-reactive protein. And those are often quite high in these conditions. And I'll give an example. So the cardiologists have caught on to this, and they're using C-reactive protein as a marker for risk for cardiovascular disease. So our patients have very high levels of these inflammatory markers. And so you can imagine it is driving inflammation in multiple organ systems, not just the joints.
You're saying that we can measure in our blood all of these different chemicals, and you're saying there's a whole bunch of them. I think you mentioned CRP, for example, that are ways to tell like how high our like inflammation is set. And this is sort of like our immune system going like, wow, this thing is really dangerous, ringing the bell for the fire engine and the police and the army and whatever. And you're saying that it's really high with people living with arthritis, but we now know that is like a sign of a lot of risk for damage to your heart, for example, as well, because basically when this thing is so high, somehow like your body is no longer, I'm thinking about like the mayhem at the end of a Hollywood movie after something's gone wrong, right? And you've got the SWAT teams, everyone, all the rest of it, like no one is able to go to work, no one is able to go home, it's all a mess. And that's sort of what's going on in our body when the inflammation doesn't go back, to normal after I've cut my finger.
That is right. That is right.
So far, the picture.
Get it to you somehow if you're interested in listening to more of it. But this is kind of talking about the inflammatory response that I was alluding to earlier. And one of the reasons this comes in our food, even if you're on like this vegan diet, right? This is why we promote a whole foods plant-based diet, free of oils, all the canola oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil that's in your chips and your crackers and those little seaweed snacks and restaurant food and all of that. That oil is highly inflammatory. And so that's something that you want to avoid. So if you're shopping at the store, that's something to look for. That's really inflammatory. You want high omega-3 fatty acids, chia seeds, flax oil, walnuts, kind of, that's really kind of what you're going for. You want to set off that balance. And when you're talking about fruits and vegetables, those are high in micronutrients. Those are super anti-inflammatory. Any fruit and vegetable is going to be really anti-inflammatory unless some people have food sensitivities. So you would have to dive into your own particular food sensitivities. But other than that, in general, fruits and vegetables are highly anti-inflammatory, as is all the omega-3 fatty acids, which I named before. Olive oil, avocado oils, kind of okay. Those are pretty neutral. But those are things that you want to look for. Okay, so I have some handouts we can get in small groups, but because I'm a physical therapist, I always have to make everybody stand up and move. We're sitting too long. So let's have everybody go ahead and stand up. And so whatever you can do, we're just going to move our bodies simply through easy range of motion. Don't let it hurt yourself. Just do whatever you feel like you can do, okay? We're just going to start up and work our way down. So we're going to start with our neck. Everybody look up to the ceiling. Try to keep your mouth closed. Keep your teeth together. See if you can feel a stretch in the front of your neck there. Good. And when you're ready, go ahead and look down to the floor. Nice. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. When you're ready, look up to the ceiling. Keep your teeth together. And when you're ready, go ahead and look down to the floor. Nice. Okay. And let's look straight ahead. Everybody rotate right. Nice. When you're ready, go ahead and rotate left. Good. We're going to do each of those one more time. Go ahead and go right. And left. Good. Okay, let's do some shoulder rolls. We're down in the shoulders now. I usually tell people to go up, back, and down. We're never really pulling forward because we're already forward so much in life. Just up, back, and down. Nice. Let's bring our whole arms into this. Do some arm circles. You guys can do both arms. I'm just handing a microphone, so whatever you want to do. Both arms up and back. Nice. Good. Now, let's do a forward bend. If you feel comfortable bending forward as far as you feel like you can go. Feel that hamstring stretch. Nice. Back up when you're ready. And we're going to do that one more time. Go ahead and bend down. And up. And if you're comfortable, you can lean back into extension. Good. Okay, side body stretch. I'm going to go over to the side. Good. When you're ready, we're going to go to the other side. Okay, one more time, each direction. Good. And we can march in place, get some hip flexion, see how high you can bring that knee up. Nice. Okay, and let's try a side lunge, get the inner thigh stretch. And we'll do the other side when you're ready. Okay, each side one more time. Good. Okay. If you need something to hold on to, hold on. We're going to bend our knees, kick back, kick back. Nice job. Okay. Good job, everybody. Yeah, you're welcome. You can sit down. So it might be nice to get into small groups, I'm thinking. I mean, how many people do we have here? We could maybe do 2 or 3 groups potentially. I have some handouts we can work together in. Maybe you guys can get yourself in groups of 6 and 6. How many do we have? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We could do 7 and 7. Is that too big? Okay. So I'm going to hand out some sheets. If I don't have enough for everybody, we'll share. But we just need really one person writing in the answers. But you all can kind of talk about it together, okay?
Want to just be a little tighter? Okay, sorry. Right. Understand information, nutrition, stress, discuss the questions, flows, moments, and share. Icebreaker. What is the one thing you certainly do to help manage inflammation?
Yeah, it's a 2-page.
Even like that.
Keep the process down.
It's nice having someone lead you through
We really just need one page that I guys talk about right here. And then you just get right. Okay, next question. What foods make you feel energized versus sluggish?
I'm horribly non.
How are you guys? You're doing great. Okay, first question. For this, sluggish with energized. What makes you feel sluggish?
Like, what can we do to help?
So like that, I did it. And when you eat heavy bread, you're like, wheat bread or white bread. So sourdough makes you sluggish. Yeah. Interesting. Usually, I'm not gonna do it now. Oh, yeah, I don't really have, what else makes you feel sluggish? Oh, that's true. Sluggish. That's really.
Teaspoons of day.
What do you do? What time do you eat exercise?
Just anything like a smoothie or.
Rest.
It's okay, I got it. Yeah.
Are there people online?
Yeah, that mixed with everything else. You can tell us there. If I didn't.
Are there people online? Okay, for those of you online, there's an interactive group workshop handout. So I'm going to read to you what the questions are, and you can write these down or you can ignore it. So this handout reads interactive group workshop handout, anti-inflammatory nutrition and joint pain. This workshop is designed to help participants understand how inflammation, nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress influence joint pain and recovery. Discuss the questions below in small groups and share ideas together. So I don't know if you could unmute your microphone. Can they talk amongst each other or not, Ed? Okay, so maybe you could if you choose to. Icebreaker discussion. What's one thing you currently do to help manage pain or inflammation? What's one thing you currently do to help manage pain or inflammation? You can kind of write this down yourself, I guess. And it could be discussed maybe when we get done. What foods make you feel energized versus sluggish? Are there any foods that make you feel energized versus sluggish? Next question. What challenges make healthy eating or exercise difficult? Don't say everything. Just think what challenges make healthy eating or exercise difficult? Okay, the next discussion area is understanding inflammation. What lifestyle habits might increase inflammation? So, could just sitting around increase inflammation? Could not getting enough sleep cause inflammation? Think about the things that might cause inflammation. Could it be some chemical you're being exposed to? Might it be stress? How can stress or poor sleep affect pain levels? Well, the spoiler alert on that is if those could cause inflammation, does inflammation cause pain? And if it does, then the pain might be affected. And then why do you think movement helps reduce stiffness? So that's an interesting question. You know, a number of people, those of us who are aging a bit, we get up after sitting and we feel a bit stiff, or we wake up in the morning with stiffness. And why does movement seem to help that? Could it have something to do with blood flow? Just food for thought. Now, the next is group reflection questions. What surprised you most about the connection between food and pain? And which inflammatory foods seem easiest to add into your life? So, which foods are anti-inflammatory? Actually, if you attend the Magic of Fiber lecture, you might have learned that fiber, any foods that have fiber, are the food for your good bacteria in your microbiome, and they produce butyrate, which is an anti-inflammatory chemical. So, which anti-inflammatory foods seem easiest to add into your life? That means which legumes, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, which one seem easiest to add into your life? And what small habit could you realistically improve this week? And what could that habit be? Could it be something related to what you eat? Could it be like an extra serving of fruit or vegetable? Could it be moving a bit more, sitting a bit less? Could it be how to dealing with stress with meditation or yoga? And then how can movement and nutrition work together for better recovery? So, I guess you can do one without the other, but if you're doing them both together, it seems like you would likely get better recovery. So the next is anti-inflammatory nutrition activity. And there are different foods listed here. And the foods are blueberries, sugary soda, leafy greens, and deep fried foods. So the next box or question is, which of these are anti-inflammatory? Which of them are inflammatory, and why? So let's take blueberries. Are they anti-inflammatory or inflammatory? I hope you know the answer to this one. Blueberries, definitely anti-inflammatory. Why is that? Could it be the antioxidants in blueberries, which are so packed with? Sugary soda, anti-inflammatory or inflammatory? Well, I hope you know the answer to this one. A lot of people are drinking a lot of sugary soda. Does that make it good? It actually leads to inflammation, and the why, the white sugar, the excess white sugar in sodas has been shown to be inflammatory. I'm not sure the exact mechanism of that, but you might want to do a chat GPT search or AI search. Leafy greens, inflammatory or anti-inflammatory? I hope you know the answer to this one. I'll give you a clue. I'm eating about 3 to 4, maybe even up to 5 handfuls of dark green leafies every day. So maybe you'll come to the conclusion they're anti-inflammatory. And again, the fiber is important.
I like baked.
And the nutrients, antioxidants, the production of nitric oxide, all are really healthy for you. Deep fried foods, what's the issue with them? Inflammatory or not? They're inflammatory, and the oils are inflammatory, and you can look that up if you don't believe it. Oh, we missed out on a couple other categories: beans and lentils and processed snacks. What do you think beans and lentils are? Inflammatory or anti-inflammatory?
Anti.
I hope you thought anti-inflammatory, because these are the most fiber-packed foods in the world. Beans and lentils have 7 grams of fiber in each half a cup. So adding more of these to your diet would really be helpful. And then how about processed snacks? They taste good. They got a high sugar content, lots of fat oftentimes, sometimes salt that gives you a dopamine kick, but they're definitely inflammatory. Personal action plan. We only have 2 more of these. The personal action plan and then the key takeaways. Personal action plan. 1 anti-inflammatory food I will add this week. So think about that. Which of the 1 food might you add this week? You don't have to answer, but you can think about it. Write it down. And then 1 inflammatory food I will reduce this week. And then 1 movement or exercise goal and 1 sleep or stress habit I will improve. So just write those down or think about them in your mind. Kathy's going to go over this with you in just a few moments. Key takeaways: chronic inflammation may worsen joint pain and stiffness. Whole food nutrition and movement support recovery. Sleep and stress management are part of healing. And small, consistent habits create long-term results. Okay, we hope you haven't been left out there all alone. And Kathy will be on in just a few moments to kind of review all this with you again.
Probably heard it more than I've heard all of it. I was just there. It has a lot of sodium. You put a bunch of other Chinese. So maybe not. Maybe I want it. So
It just makes you drowsy. And it's been shown to help with singing social.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sticks.
My boss is letting anti-inflammatory.
Oh, great. And then after that, it should be harder to. He was at the Charlie's like. And so.
Grabbing that. I'm gonna do peanut butter because I was making some peanut butter. I did not pay some attention, but hey guys. What's that? Even if we haven't finished it.
Through what we can go through, if that's okay, because we've got to wrap up at 8:30 here today. That's okay, as long as you guys were talking and mingling. That's really what it's for. All right, so let's start at the top, I guess. What is one thing you currently do to help manage pain or inflammation? If anybody is doing anything currently, any ideas for that, or what you could be doing? First question, yeah. You guys get an A+. All those ideas. Wow. I like it. Anybody have anything different or anything they want to add to that one?
Yeah, nice. Thanks. How about this group? Yes.
YouTube.
Okay. Eccentric stretching we got from this group. And then next question, what foods make you feel energized? Has anybody eaten something and then felt like energized, or the opposite? Maybe a lot of people are feeling the opposite. Sluggish. So does anybody, we've all probably had an experience eating something and feeling sluggish, right? Yeah. So we know what that is. Potatoes for you. And then what about, has anybody eaten something and actually felt energized? Yeah, what was yours?
It was a juice, it was beets, carrots, ginger, cucumber, and making turmeric.
Yeah, so that sounds fantastic. I can see that would be energizing, right?
Yeah. So we also had a smoothie that was filled with rich and veggies, protein powder, what's the other, collagen?
Collagen, yeah. Yeah, so like our food is supposed to energize us, right? It's not supposed to make us sluggish. If we're eating the right thing, we will feel energized afterwards. Like you just got a huge dose of micronutrients, antioxidants, all the things, right? Especially drinking that juice, like that goes right into you. There's no fiber in there, so you can absorb that pretty quickly. Did you want to say something?
Just like tomatoes and tomatoes with a little bit of some little.
Yes, oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, it's like cool and refreshing to the home.
Totally, sorry.
Our group had some of them feel energized by coffee and some of them feel light. I think it's because I have ADHD, so I'm taking
She goes.
You're talking about coffee. And some people feel like it energizes them. Some people feels like it makes them sluggish. And then somebody said they have ADHD, so they can drink it at night. So coffee is a tricky one. I mean, I'm gonna have an unpopular opinion here. I think it's really addictive and habitual and all these things. And I think it can raise your stress hormones and stress your adrenals. So, you can drink it if you want, but I think it's, a little questionable the effect it has on your body. But it's one of those things everybody's doing. So, but people are having caffeine in one way or another. A lot of people are having matcha now and green teas now. So, super prevalent. But yeah, people have different responses to coffee. And then sometimes if they're energized in the morning when they have that cup, then they have that afternoon crash and then come looking for something, Yeah. Anybody want to add to that? Oh yeah.
I had a couple of mandarins at work the other day, and it was like, boom, boom, pick me up. Exactly what I need.
Isn't that amazing? Have you guys heard of Kirlian photography? You should look it up. It's really interesting. So it's a type of photography where they take a picture of food and raw fruits and vegetables light up. Like they're light up with energy, and then like cooked food or meats or things like that are heavy and can cooked have like a lower emission of light energy. It's really interesting. The thing that energizes me the most is I go to the Asian market every week and I get like a case of coconuts. And I open up the coconuts and I drink like a 32-ounce mason jar of coconut water. And I'm like so energized by that. It's like it feels so natural and feels so hydrating. Like it feels so good. If you like coconut water, I do recommend that. How do you get the coconut something? Well, I used to use a hammer and a screwdriver, but I've upgraded to, you can get it's like a cocoa jack. They'll give you a mallet and this special opener. It's like a C and it's got a long handle on it. So you're holding it, you're, hitting it with the mallet to open it. It can be a little tricky, but you get it down. You do it often now. Where do you get the Asian market at Sunrise? Down on Willamette 29.
What do you do with the meat that's in there?
So you can make it into a milk if you want to. You can make coconut milk with that. You scrape it out, put it in the blender, and make coconut milk, homemade coconut milk. It's amazing. Or you can use it for a dessert, like a vegan dessert, raw vegan dessert. They would make that. They would use that with. Or you can eat it. Yeah, just scoop it out, and eat it. It's good. You eat it.
So,
I stick mostly with the water.
so Kathy,
Yeah.
coconut has a lot of saturated fat.
Well, not the water though.
But if you make your own coconut milk.
Yes, that would have saturated.
So if you have problems with saturated fat, be careful about that.
Yeah. But the water would be free of that. Yeah. I don't actually eat the meat a lot. I almost feel a little bad.
That's just the water inside the coconut. You just drink that. It's great, right?
It's really good. Like if you've been to Hawaii and they give you a coconut with a straw. It's really good. People are doing this in the tropics, you
I
guys.
thought that would give you diabetes. Is that a myth? That's what it meant.
Okay, so what challenges make healthy eating or exercise difficult?
I've heard said time, convenience of food, cost, constant eating, access to free food, mental blocks, stress, anxiety, and lack of hunger.
Yeah, great. Anybody have anything else?
Pain.
Pain, yes, that's a big one, and that's what I see a lot. That's what I see a lot of. And so with that, I always encourage people to move in whatever pain-free or minimal pain that they can, right? It is important, even if our joints are kind of painful, we do need to put some kind of weight through them, but without aggravating it is always what I'm trying to do. Okay, so what lifestyle habits might increase inflammation? Not moving, that's a big one. Yeah, you need to move your body. You need to get fluids moving through your body. How can stress and poor sleep affect pain levels?
We just dropped through the roof.
Snow cut free.
Right? So I talk to my patients about this all the time because their pain will come on and it'll go away. And it'll come on and it'll go away. And they're so perplexed by this. So I would say, what were you doing before it came on? Were you stressed? Were you in a hurry? Was something going on? You know, sometimes at work, I'll just take a break and be like, wow, was I breathing? Like, so I have to go see people, you know, and like, we're kind of on the go. And so there's all these daily stressors that you might not really be picking up on until you take a minute to slow down. You're like, oh yeah, I was kind of in a rush. I was kind of stressed there.
I didn't know that about the why.
Yeah.
Yeah. The overarching, you know, I feel the natural effect of aging. So that's it. And so it's mandatory that I do lifestyle all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it gets more important the older you get, right? These little kids are fine. They're running around. But this is one thing we're not doing as we get older. You look at a child, they're running and jumping and climbing all the time. They're doing all these things. And that's what we need to do to keep strong bones and muscles. And so after not doing it for decades, right, our body's going to start to experience that. But sarcopenia, which is like muscle wasting, it's just because we're not using them as much. You can build muscle at any age, which is really cool. So we want to get ahead of these things, ideally. So why do you think movement helps reduce stiffness? I mean, for this one, the body's just meant to move, right? So if we're not moving, we're eventually going to get stuck, right? Because we're not doing it. So all your joints are meant to move through their range of motion, whatever you've got available. We don't want to force it through pain. But you want to move through your joints available range of motion. So did anything surprise you about the connection between food and pain?
Yes, but so many foods trigger inflammation, and that continued eating of those will create breaches in your synovial tissue.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm trying to get the word out there that people can feel much better if they make these changes.
Can you repeat what are the most inflammatory foods?
Yeah, so processed foods, fast foods, restaurant foods, anything, you know, that is made in a laboratory that is made to make it taste good for you and make you not be able to stop eating it. All those things are inflammatory. Oils are inflammatory. Saturated fats are inflammatory. Anything in a package, you know, a Dorito, all of those things, an Oreo. And so that's why the words whole food plant-based are so important, because Oreos are vegan. Like vegan does not mean healthy. And so that's really a message that we need to get out too, is we think vegan must be so healthy or eat what vegetables. Well, no, not necessarily. Yeah. Okay, so which anti-inflammatory foods seem easiest for you to add into your diet? This will be different for different people. The ones that taste best, right? What would that be for you? Like what? Blueberries? Blueberries are delicious. My favorite smoothie is like blueberry, banana, mango with some lunch juice. So good. Yeah?
It's really easy to go buy organic vegetables and fruit that are frozen,
Yeah?
and then they're immediately available.
I know. I love that. It's
Yes.
a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always buy those giant bags of frozen fruit from Costco. So we always have fruit in our freezer for smoothies. Because if it's fresh, I mean, it can go bad or whatever, it runs out, somebody eats it. But the frozen fruit, it's like, oh, it's kind of always there. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Okay, so what small habit could you put into your life today that might help you out? Reduce your inflammation.
We had a subtle one. Somebody said drink more delicious herbal type teas.
Yeah.
And more water.
And more water.
When I meal prep, I've got something there So it helps me that when I don't meal prep, it's when I'm always like, I'm too stressed to cook anything.
Right.
Meal prepping is.
That's
I
a really
think
good idea.
The one key thing to keep me on track.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea, right? Because we get in a hurry, we get stressed, we're just grabbing a quick thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Any other ideas for that one? Okay, so how can movement and nutrition work together for better recovery? So when somebody has an injury, we have to move, right? So we know we're gonna be doing that, and whatever range of motion we have, and whatever kind of impact we can have, right? We need to be walking, we need to weight bear through our joints. And then the nutrition, like we talked about, the anti-inflammatory foods. And so down here, we have a little chart. Pretty easy, right? The berries are inflammatory or anti-inflammatory? Sugary soda. It's inflammatory, it's sugar and it's purple coloring, it's like oats, and there's all these weird natural flavors, it's chemicals. Look at the label. That's gonna be inflammatory in your body. Those weird chemicals, your body doesn't know what it is, it doesn't know what to do with it, it doesn't recognize it, it's not natural food. Deep fried foods. And that's where we get into those oils. Big time, when those deep frying. Okay, beans and lentils.
I don't deal with AI.
With what?
With AI, because that is most of my diet, so it better be anti.
Yeah. That was trouble. You know, the blue zones, they studied the longest living people, and called them blue zones throughout the world, the longest living healthy people. In the blue zones, and they're eating beans or lentils pretty much every day. Yeah, so that does about it. Just would be bad. Processed foods. Processed snacks, we know that's gonna be inflammatory. Okay, so personal action plan. One anti-inflammatory food I can add in this week that I'm not already doing.
Over here wanted some peaches.
Yeah, peaches, or a meal, like you could have your oatmeal for breakfast with some fruit, you could have a smoothie for breakfast. You pick one meal to make sure it was anti-inflammatory. And then what inflammatory food do you eat that would be like easy to not eat? You know, once you start learning about them, I used to eat the standard American diet. The easiest thing for me to give up was McDonald's, because I found out that all the McDonald's, they have their flavor people and the researchers, and it tastes the same in every country because they're using all it. It just got really grossed out. So if you can like gross yourself out about, then it's easier. You're like,
I guess for me, it was meat. Meat was the easiest thing to
yeah,
give up,
meat.
and then it changed. So.
My thing is cheese. I do so good, and then I have a bad day, and it's cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese makes me happy.
It does, literally. The queso markets and cheese. Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's like a drug.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
So it's good that you recognize that. So it's hard to break out of it, you know, but it's not your fault. This is the society that we live in right now. So it is hard.
So that's the thing, and then I feel miserable the day after.
Yeah. Well, that too, like knowing that, oh, I feel bad after that is also kind of incentive. Okay. So what's one movement or exercise goal that we could add?
I mean, stretching every morning. It's a habit I've formed, but I need to do more like you just took us. You took us through at the beginning of the class.
Easy, right?
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. I do some of that, but I need to do more of that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Question.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Park farther from the door.
Yeah, right? Don't complain when you can't find a close parking spot. This is my walking for the day.
You have a suggestion, do you want
Oh, yeah.
I'm a bus rider by choice. Like, right? Because I can get in an area that I do all my friends walking. And so, when I'm home in the city, I set my timers. So gives me a post every 30 minutes. Yeah, sure.
Oh, good.
And move. That's real easy to have We just did some stretches for us and felt good.
Yeah, feels good, right?
You know, and then forwards and backwards. It doesn't really.
Good.
You know.
Exactly, it could be very easy, right? Yeah, thank you. All right, so one sleep or stress habit I will improve. I have an easy one for this. I just like take a few deep breaths. Like inhale through your mouth, through your nose, to a count of 5. Exhale through your mouth to a count of 5 or 6. If you exhale a little bit longer than you inhale, it's kind of a signal to your nervous system to calm down. But the breath work is almost instantaneous to calm your body down. So I think that's a really good one. Okay, so we pretty much made it through this. Good job, you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so I made little power bars for everybody if anybody wants to try. It's made of nuts, so as long as you don't have a nut allergy, you're welcome to try it. All right, any questions we want to?
Where's the recipe for the nut bar?
Yeah, the recipes. I can email the recipe out or put it on the website or something. I can get it to you. Yeah. Yeah. Were you on my last talk? If you want to leave me your email, I had a really good video for fascia, which is so funny that you bring it up because I just talked about that last time. Yeah, and that's more like rotational twisting kind of movements.
Is trigger finger arthritic?
Trigger finger arthritic. I mean, that can be a component to it, but there's a lot of things going on. But usually for a trigger finger, often it's like a surgical release for that. Do you have one?
I have to do trigger finger, yeah.
I told them to stop shooting people. Do you have one? Can I see it?
So when they're open shooting it, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the tendon.
Yeah, it's a tendon thing. My husband's a cancer.
Yeah, the tendonitis.
But it's not necessarily inflammation.
I mean, inflammation can be related, but I would call it arthritis.
Penicillin.
People who have dysplasia. It's always like trying to anyway, work with the pain or arthritis and they have that have, you know, have limited movement.
Yeah, so how do you, yeah, you can finish.
Well, I was just gonna say, if there's just like one kind of movement that would be like, you know, something that they talk with that and.
Yeah, you know, it would depend on the person and what's causing the pain and what's not. You know, the hip has external and internal rotation, flexion, extension. It's a ball and socket joint, so there's a lot of movements to it. And so you want to do those movements as pain-free as possible. Kind of look at the pelvic height, see if there's any asymmetry between the right side and the left side of the pelvis. Yeah. So I always look for muscle imbalances with people when they come in. And is the quad tight on this side and not on the other? Is the hamstrings tight? Are the glutes functioning? So there's a lot of like nuance to deciding what you're going to do with somebody.
And I was trying to figure out a movement without causing like irritation.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I was just curious if you were, because that's one of the things I have, that's
Yeah.
physical therapy for the
Yeah.
isolation, and then we're working with orthotics. All that.
Balance that.
They want to orthotics, and
Is it helping?
Physical therapy first, and then we'll reassess. So
Yeah.
the orthotics is
Yeah.
huge.
You should get in to see a PT. I mean, we can help with that, but somebody needs to like look at your body and to see what imbalances are going on, what you need to strengthen, what you can use here, but you wouldn't want to. A little bit more specific. Okay.
Yeah, put your bars out on the table.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so it's 8:30, so we're gonna wrap up. If you want to catch me before I go, I'm happy to answer any questions. There's some bars that I made out on the table. There's dates, with dates, a little bit of maple syrup, and there's nuts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.